Hello, John Adams, parents and family members. We're going to continue on with our second parent workshop about communicating effectively. As a reminder, my name is GONZALEZ-DAVILA, and I'm a school psychology intern this year at John Adams Middle School. So today we're going to discuss about communicating effectively with teens. So most importantly, we should define what communication is. So communication is a process of sending and receiving messages through verbal or nonverbal means. And communication is exchange of thoughts, ideas, and information. So the most key thing to grasp from this is that it is an exchange of thoughts, ideas, and information. It should not be a one-way street. So during adolescence, it is fairly typical for a child to confide less in adults and more in friends. Although adults should not overreact to this normal developmental process, there are definitely ways to develop and maintain positive, open, and effective communication with youth. Things to know. Good communication with your teenager is one of the foundations of good parenting. As children become adolescents, they normally get more involved with peers and talk less to parents. So less communication with parents can be a normal part of establishing independence. Teenagers still want and need to communicate with their parents, feel close to their parents, and be able to turn to their parents when they have problems or when they need to talk. Even though this is still a need, it might be more difficult for teenagers to actually confide in parents and be able to kind of accept that since they are trying to establish their independence. So it's important that as parents, you provide some support in this area. So what are some benefits of effective communication? So you will feel more connected to your child. You'll be able to speak more to your child. And it makes difficult conversations easier if you have that established rapport of good communication. And it also helps improve overall communication. So when your child no longer depends on you as much as they once did, it's harder to know everything that's going on in their lives as the communication between parents and teenagers seems to decrease. They are more independent, and so you have to make time to check in with them to find out how they're doing. So what is effective communication? So effective communication builds trust. Effective communication fosters trust with others. So your ability to listen attentively and embrace different opinions and views helps others trust that you are making optimal decisions for everyone in the group. As you serve as a role model, this trust will extend to everyone around you. It resolves problems. So your ability to communicate effectively plays a large role in resolving conflicts with others in your life and also with your child. Providing clarity and direction. So with effective communication skills, you can deliver clear expectations of what your expectations of your child may be. It creates better relationships. As we spoke previously, it really opens up a whole new way of trust. And if you have trust, you have both that stronger communication and overall communication and respect and mutual respect can be built upon this too. It improves productivity. So productivity in relations to being able to trust each other and being able to advocate and ask for help when needed. And it's also a team building skill that is important. So team building relies not just on communication with your child, but communication with the team in a school as well. And you're showing and modeling those communication skills with your child, which will carry on when they need to advocate for themselves in school. So some ideas to consider. So make sure that you listen to them. Let them finish their thoughts, tell the whole story, and don't try to immediately fix the situations. Sometimes what kids need is someone to just listen to them. Pay attention. Focus on what your child is saying. I know nowadays life is very busy, but make sure to take the time to sit down and really see and pay attention of what your child is telling you. Repeat from time to time. So rephrase what they have said to make sure that you understand. Ask questions. Don't interrogate, but make sure that you're asking appropriate questions to let them know that you're actually paying attention. Listen non-judgmentally. Hold your opinions or even advices until after they've spoken they've spoken their own opinions, so that you don't rush to judgment. This also leads to better trusting if they know that you won't judge them initially. Be understanding. Even if you don't agree, understand how they must feel. And again, always step in if there is a need to step in and solve an issue, but otherwise let them take responsibility and let them know they're being heard. The key to building a positive relationship and sorting out any communication difficulties with your teenager is to keep the channels of communication open. Even though during the teenage years, this might be really difficult, you really want to foster that. So some barriers to effective communication is interruptions and distractions. So if you're just kind of rushing or they're trying to talk to you and you're doing a million other things at once, it's going to be really hard for them to actually trust that you're listening to them and that they feel cared for. Again, jumping to advice, you really want to just listen. Sometimes all they want is someone to listen to them and they don't really need any problems to be fixed. And if they do, I'm sure they'll ask for some advice, and that's also great self-advocacy skills that you can work on with your child. Judging, so if you start judging them for what they're saying, again, that confidence and that trust will be broken down. And lastly, interrogating, so asking too many questions about even things that maybe they're not even trying to focus on. They might kind of give up on wanting to express more of what they initially wanted to express with you. So when parents and children find themselves using these kind of barriers to effective communication, this can lead to arguments, to that communication leading to an argument. And so there is things to help de-escalate an argument. So one of the first things is to stop and take a break. Acknowledge that this is turning not in a good communication form and turning into really negative. And just simply say, I want to take some time and think about this before we talk anymore. Learn when it's time to stop. So acknowledge your teen's triggers and respect them if they ask for a break. Don't try to force communication on them. Identify emotions. Try to label your emotions and what you're actually feeling throughout, or how you feel about the argument or just in general. And then once you've taken that break, acknowledged it, identify your emotions or feelings towards what's being said, you can then return to the conversation. So once everyone is cooled down, better decisions can be made. So parent and teenager arguments are completely normal, and it's part of raising a child, specifically an adolescent and teenager. As an adult, it is your responsibility to notice and try strategies to prevent things from escalating. So this is a time when teenagers are kind of acting on impulse, and you really want to be there to give them the tools and strategies so hopefully they learn and can use them later on. So some ways you can improve communication skills is using I messages. So instead of saying or blaming, kind of you do this, you do that all the time, you can say, I was upset this morning to find the kitchen in a mess because I had to tidy it up before I could make breakfast. Next time, please clear it up yourself. Thanks. So you're really acknowledging, first of all, your feelings towards what happened, and then what you would like to have done instead. Use open-ended questions. Again, we don't want to interrogate, but when you do have a question, you can kind of ask it in a way that leads to more communication. So instead of just saying, you know, what's going on, or you can say, tell me more, I'm interested in listening. The power of praise is actually really good. Instead of focusing on something negative, make sure you're focusing on kind of the positives too. Telling someone that you love them, giving them a small present, or doing a chore you know they like and done can help lead to better communication and trust amongst each other. Appreciate their positive qualities. So again, making sure that you focus on those positive things and let them know. So if they are angry, upset, but they ask for a break, you can have them, or you can not acknowledge that they were able to use that strategy and that they have those strategies available to them and that they use them. And so that was amazing. Now let's watch a short video on teenage communication.
One of the most important developmental stages in life is at puberty to 21 years old. This is where a child begins to individuate as separate from the parent. This is where a child's self-esteem comes from. I have a voice, I have an expression. And it's so easy at that time, as the child's wanting to have their own sense of self, to have a parent be in discord with that, to suppress that voice by having a better voice. So it's a validating position, but you're still the parent. And that's a delicate dance to accomplish, which is a child says, well, I don't like this at all. I think that's stupid. Well, tell me why you think that's stupid, and listen to their point of view. And then simply say, well, I think this and this and this. Don't, when my children were young, I had 35 years of life experience that could pound down, or 45, that could pound down any idea. And so the children could easily suppress. I saw this one time when I was helping my daughter do her homework in 8th grade. And it was too complicated for me to understand, but my brother was there, who was a math PhD. And she said, well, I said, Robert, well, maybe you can help Lauren with this. And Robert looked at it and went, oh, that's so easy. And instantly Lauren hated him. Why? Because something that was difficult for Lauren was easy for him. It gave the message to her that she was stupid, that she would not be able to do that so easily. Children need validation. And the most important thing we parents can do is we need to learn to listen. Parents say, my kids don't talk to me. Why don't they talk to you? Because when they say things, we're always being the parent, wanting to correct them, wanting to improve them, wanting to change them. For a younger child, that works quite well. But after puberty, this is where they need to find the truth within themselves with extra guidance from the parent. So that whole issue of validating, instead of immediately correcting, well, why would you think that? Help me to understand your thought here. And quite often we want to give solutions. I was so good at not giving solutions to my teenagers that they would say, okay, Dad, you listen. Now tell me what you think. They really wanted to know what I thought because I wasn't going to slam them with it. And I was always sort of seeing the wisdom. Well, that makes sense. Well, that's a good idea. Well, help me understand this, or help me understand what your feeling is here. I really want to understand this better. They feel seen that way. They feel the safety, like little sprouts that come up and grow in your presence.
So that was just some information and reminders of it's not always easy to have and build those strategies, but they're definitely necessary, and you could always build upon them. Here are some more resources provided to you about how to communicate with your teen and building those healthy relationships. And I think it's never too late to start, even though you might have had arguments in the past. It's always good to kind of refresh and know that there is some tools and strategies out there to be able to help and build that communication with your teenager, because it is very important. They are developing their independence, but they do still need some parenting from parents, and from they still look up to you, and they're still your role. They still look up to you and see you as a role model. So I think that's very important. And this is the end of the presentation for communicating effectively with teens. Thank you so much.